Okay, so at the beginning of this chapter, I spent chapter 6 of Savitch C++. I start talking about classes and objects. In this book, they don't really get into the classes till chapter 10. We needed classes for this one because we are using classes. So from the class, we create an object. We use a member function that comes through the class to the object. So we have all of the functions available. We don't have to write it. It's already available to us. Another topic in object-oriented design is called inheritance. So inheritance is a class that is a child of another class. So again, we don't want to talk too much detail on it. We just want to get the concept going so we can use it. So when we say child of the other class, means the subclass is going to have everything that the superclass has, plus some additional stuff. So when I have a class that's inheriting from another class, it's going to have everything that the other one has, plus some additional. So the top class, we call them superclass or parent class, is going to have some stuff. And the child class, or I like to call it subclass, is going to have everything on the superclass plus some additional one. So if I put them side to side, the subclass has everything that the superclass has. So both of them are sharing a lot of stuff, and the subclass has some additional stuff. So we need that to understand about some of these things that we're going to be talking about, the classes that we are using for our out stream and in stream. So if I use OS stream is a superclass or a parent class of OF stream. That means that OF stream has everything of the OS stream plus some additional ones. Same thing goes with our out stream. So that means if I have this function that I'm passing only OS stream instead of OF stream, I can pass all child classes of our OS stream. That would be cout, or it can be a file out stream. So we can send both of them over here. Now let's talk about the default argument. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago when we were doing the end of chapter 5, that we can potentially have default values for our arguments. Why do we want to do that? Because if we don't mention that default value, automatically it's going to take it. So if I create a new line and I put the in stream, if I don't put the C in here, that means I have to put it every single time. Now, if I put a default value, it's going to take that one if I don't mention it. I'm going to have some examples that we're going to go through it. So we can have parameters with no default values. We can have a mixture of having some default value and have some of them not. But the key for C++ is that if you want to mix them up, the one with the default value has to be on the right side, not the left side. You cannot do it on the left side. And as you're using, it's going to start using the most left one first. So if I have a function with 3 parameters, that one of them is not default value, that means that function has to be called with that one parameter. If the next one has a default value and the third one has a default value, if I use 2D two parameters. It's going to use for the leftmost one, the second one, and the third one is going to use the default value. We did this at the end of chapter 5, but we want to practice a little bit on it. Let's look at this, the new line function. So for new line function here, I have the symbol, I have cin.get, while symbol is not \n. So this can only be used with cin. I cannot use this with my input file string. Now, if I put it in the is stream and I pass a parameter, this can be used both with cin and it can be used with input file string. So we are putting is stream, not if stream. Remember, if is going to be only for file stream, which is a child of is stream. So we can pass a child as a parent parameter. So let's talk more about the default values. So if I have two arguments, one of them has a default value and the other one doesn't have a default value, when I'm calling it, it has to have at least one parameter. So I have to call it at least with one parameter. That means the second one is going to take -3, which was the default value. Now, if I pass two parameters on it, it's not going to take -3 anymore. It's going to pass both of them. So my first one is going to be 5. The second one is going to be 6. And if I had another one, then I could do it with 3 parameters. That was the whole week of default values, but some students didn't do it. So be sure you're going to go and review those sections. So we have 3 ways of doing the new lines, and we're going to be looking at it, how we're going to do it. So if I just have this is only going to be used for cin. It doesn't work for anything else, just with the cin. So when I'm calling it, it doesn't have no parameter, and it's just going to work for cin. Now, if I'm using this one, which has if stream, this only works for file in stream. It doesn't work for cin. It only works for file stream. So we can pass our in stream to here, and it's going to work for that. If I'm using this one, keep note on, I am using the is stream, not if stream. This one, I can pass cin, and I can pass file in or in a stream or whatever we want. So we can use it for both of them in this one. Now, the one that is the next one is this one. So not only are we going to use is stream, we're going to have a default value for cin. So if I have a default value for cin, I can call this function with no parameter, and it's automatically going to use cin. If I put a parameter, it's expecting a file in a stream, and then that's the way it's going to work. So this is the one with default value for the parameter. Okay, so I'm going to stop right here. I want you to think about some of these things. I know some of it is a little bit outside of what we're doing, but it's good to think about it. And again, you have questions on this, bring it to your DQ. Try to work with somebody else about these questions. We cannot cover all of them in our class, so pay attention to them. And if you have any concerns, let us know, and we may talk about some of them during the class time. So pause it over here and work with this question.